Hey everyone, before we go to this episode, I want to tell you something super special. As we will talk about AI in retail in today's episode, I want you to know that we noticed there's this huge demand for the topic. So starting in October on Thursdays, we'll bring to you a special series in partnership with our friends from Ometria and hosted by the one and only Ron Thurston, together with Ivan Mazur and Jalal Luguev. Retail Intelligence in Action is coming for 6 weeks where we explore the future of AI in enterprise retail marketing, together with many experts in the industry. Now let's go to the episode. Today is a very special day because I am in Santa Clara, California, to dive into the intersection of retail and one of the most powerful technology companies shaping the future of AI, NVIDIA. You probably know NVIDIA as the world leader in accelerating computing for AI. But what you may not realize is how deeply they are embedded in retail, CPG, and quick service restaurants. NVIDIA is reshaping how global brands reimagine everything from optimizing supply chain operations and personalized e-commerce experience to product creation and more. Joining me is Azita Martin. She's the Vice President and General Manager of AI for Retail, CPG, and QSR at NVIDIA. Azita's team works with some of the world's biggest and most innovative companies from Lowe, PepsiCo, P&G, L'Oreal, Yum Brands, and more to unlock AI's potential at scale. We will talk about the top AI use cases transforming retail today, dive into some fascinating customer stories, explore what's next with computer vision, robotics, and Agentic AI, and get Azita's predictions for how the way we shop and experience brands will look like by 2026. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 87 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Azita, it's a pleasure to be here in California with you. Welcome to OFFBounds.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have NVIDIA here. It's the first time we actually have a technology company joining us for our 87 episodes. It took us 87 episodes. And I remember NVIDIA from when we were talking about metaverse. I was living in Italy, 2021. I was like, oh my God, metaverse is going to be the future. We're going to need a lot of gaming. So I'm going to buy NVIDIA stocks.
No, that was wise of you.
I had no idea what it would become afterwards. And I think still a lot of people don't actually understand what NVIDIA do. We all see you in the headlines, the most valuable company in the world, something related to AI, GPUs, but what actually NVIDIA does?
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking this, because I joined NVIDIA about 7 years ago, and people said, well, you're the gaming company. And at the time, 7 years ago, I was, in the machine learning space, and I said, this AI stuff's going to take off, and I know who's going to be leading it. It's going to be NVIDIA. And so I joined. And today, of course, people think of us as the GPU company that powers all these AI applications out there. But we're a lot more than a GPU company. We're the accelerated computing company. And what that means is we have the entire stack or infrastructure for building the most performant AI applications. So it starts obviously with our hardware, our GPUs, but also we have our own CPUs and networking. And any system that runs AI is going to need all three. And in fact, we purchased the number one most efficient networking company, Mellanox, several years ago. And it's been the best acquisition that NVIDIA has ever made because the networking decides when the algorithm goes to the GPU and when it goes to the CPU. And that efficiency is going to be very, very important. So that's on the hardware side. But our secret sauce is really our acceleration libraries and acceleration software. And so we have our CUDA acceleration libraries, and then we have a whole bunch of acceleration software for the different kinds of AI that people are building. So we have for computer vision, one type of acceleration software, for generative AI, another kind, for robotics, another kind, and so forth. And so 70% of our engineers actually work on the acceleration libraries and
So it's more like
software.
the software side.
Well, the software is the secret sauce. And so the best way I can describe it is if you're running your algorithms on a GPU, you're going to get 20 times performance improvement over running it on CPU. And you're going to actually, use one GPU versus 20, 30 CPUs. So it's actually ultimately much more cost efficient. But when you use our acceleration libraries and software, you'll get 70 times or 50 or 70 times acceleration. So that is NVIDIA's secret sauce, is that the companies that work with us are learning how to use our acceleration libraries and software. They're the ones that are able to make the most high performance, most responsive AI applications.
And may I just clarify why acceleration is important?
Well, acceleration is important because of a few things, especially these days where large language models are so prominent in AI. It can take months to actually train a large language model with the world's data, right? When you're using GPUs, you're able to do that in a fraction of the time. Or inference, which is, okay, now I've built my application, I'm going to deploy it. How quickly is that application going to respond when I say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to a wedding, and she likes this, and that, what are some gifts that you can suggest? You don't want to sit there for like 60 seconds waiting for an answer. You want to get an answer right away. So that's inference performance. And that's what
Those
NVIDIA...
few seconds, they can change a decision, right?
Of course. And so NVIDIA focuses on performance, whether it's training of the algorithms faster or inference, which is the responsiveness of the algorithms.
And you have such an interesting role in the company. You are the VP and GM of AI for retail, CPG, and QSR. What NVIDIA does for these segments of the industry?
Yeah. So every industry is using AI. And so what we do is we do several things. Number one, and our biggest focus, is the ecosystem. NVIDIA's culture is when we do well, our ecosystem does well. And so we work with the most disruptive startups. We work with all the VCs on Sand Hill Road here that, have picked the best startups, and we collaborate with them and we go after these startups and we help them use our acceleration software. What's good about it, it saves them money because they're going to need fewer GPUs when you're using our acceleration software, but their software becomes more performant as well. And so we build the ecosystem. And so oftentimes when a retailer says, hey, I need a solution for supply chain, we'll say, well, do you really want to build this? Because it's going to take you over a year, but we have this startup that's actually already deployed this at a couple of customers, and this is the results that they've gotten. Why don't you try using the software, the AI software from this particular startup? So that's one way of going to the market. The second is we work with a select number of retailers that have large development teams. So AI scientists and developers and data scientists. And we help them build AI solutions for their e-commerce. That's a really big area. E-commerce has fundamentally been changed by generative AI. Search pretty much is going to become obsolete. It's going to get replaced by shopping assistants and AI shopping agents. So that's one use case. There's a big use case around supply chain, because supply chain is the biggest cost for the retailers. So many ways of making retailers more efficient in supply chain by making their warehouses and distribution centers more efficient, by using robotics, and a lot of different use cases there.
So you are responsible to make our industry more efficient, let's say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And frankly, what we're seeing already, it's almost like what happened in the e-commerce. You're probably too young to remember this, but there were companies that are like, no, people are going to only shop in the stores. And a lot of those companies are no longer around. Well, the same thing is happening now in every industry, including retail, consumer packaged good. And that is, how do you make your employees more efficient. So you need like a sidekick or an assistant for your employees that can do their jobs better and faster. And
Giving them superpowers.
yes,
Yeah?
exactly. And so that's basically the key thing, is just to help them sell more, help them improve operations, and reduce costs.
I remember the moment when I saw ChatGPT for the first time. I think it was end of 2022. 2023, I think we were still figuring out what it could do. It was a lot of guessing. I think we're a lot more solid with the capabilities of generative AI. What was this evolution of AI until now, since this ChatGPT moment?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And my God, is it changing fast, right? In fact, the advice I give everyone is, even if you've been in AI for years, you got to learn something new that comes out every day from Facebook, from Google, from NVIDIA, from OpenAI, and all of those great companies. When ChatGPT came, it basically taught the average person that, you can ask a question and ChatGPT can go and get you an answer. And sometimes that answer comes from reviewing 20 different documents and so forth, and coming and summarizing that for you. And that's much more efficient than you reading all those things and putting points in there and so forth, right? But it's prompt based. You ask a question, you get an answer. You upload a picture, it goes and finds you, something that's similar to that if you're looking to buy something. So that was the first phase of generative AI. The second phase became multimodal. And it became especially really, really big. And multimodal means using videos, using images, using text, right? And that just kind of exploded in the ad agency areas and in creating marketing and advertising campaigns where, for example, we have a lot of customers that work with us that create digital twins of their products that look really real and 3D, and then ask a generative AI model to create different backgrounds for different geographies and regions.
Yeah, like in hyper-personalized, right? Depending on who you're trying to reach.
Well, it's not hyper-personalized because that's per person.
Okay.
But it is around customized for different cultures, different regions. Show me a bottle of Dior perfume with Lake Como in the background, and show me one with the Eiffel Tower in the background. Those creative images can now be created in seconds, where in the past it would take Photoshop and a person that is now combining those backgrounds with the product images and so forth. Yeah. So it's just making marketing a lot more efficient. So that's multimodal. Now what we're getting to is AI agents. So what's an AI agent? An AI agent is a generative AI model that can perceive, so it's seeing things potentially. It can reason, so it's thinking. It's going, do I solve it this way or do I solve it that way? It can plan, and most importantly, it performs tasks autonomously. The word autonomous and the word reasoning are the two most important things that distinguish what an AI agent is versus the prompt-based generative AI. And you're absolutely right. 90% of people are starting to call everything agentic AI.
Yeah, I was going to say, because everybody's talking about it, but I feel like sometimes it's a misconception. Yeah.
Right. So that was an AI agent. What's agentic AI? Agentic AI is a group of agents that work together as teammates, and they're orchestrated together. And so one agent, as a result of a prompt or something, for example, there's going to be bad weather, it's going to be a snowstorm, we need to order more shovels, right? And it can then send a prompt to the order agent and says, order more shovels. And the order agent has to go and say, well, how much do I have in inventory and how much more do I need, right? And so it's a group of agents that are autonomous, and one agent can give instructions to another agent, and they perform tasks autonomously. And especially in the area of supply chain, this is going to be game changing. And the companies that are really looking to start building agentic AI solutions for supply chain are going to be absolutely winners of their industry. And that's an area that we're working with some really, really cool retailers right now.
We will talk about it very soon. I'm excited for that. But before, what are some of the biggest differences? Because you are responsible for retail, CPG, and QSR. And they are kind of similar, but it's still different. That's why they have different names.
Sure.
What are the main differences on how AI has been helping each of these segments?
No, that's a great question. So in retail, we started 6-7 years ago using computer vision to prevent theft. So it's called loss prevention. And frankly, especially in big stores and especially in the grocery industry, if you haven't implemented a loss prevention computer vision solution, your CFO should know about it because you're losing 1.5% of your revenue to shrink. And a lot of that is theft. And so that is probably been the number one use case. And if you look at the top grocery companies and the top big box companies, especially in the United States, all the top ones have implemented loss prevention. So using computer vision in the stores to prevent theft, to make checkout more efficient, to notify of stockouts on the shelves are perfect examples of using computer vision inside the store. On e-commerce has also been a really big focus, and there it's been more using generative AI for content and catalog enrichment, so writing better, more comprehensive descriptions of every product that is very time consuming for people to write, and they can automatically write these and somebody can just review them and approve them. So content enrichment is critical because that is basically what's going to drive your SEO optimization. And that's why Amazon always shows up first, no matter what you search for, is because they have the most comprehensive product description. So it uses computer vision generative AI to look at a picture, and then it writes the product description. And obviously, shopping assistance for e-commerce, search is also being changed by that, and ultimately advertisements. So those are, some areas that are really big in retail. In consumer package, we've been really focused on supply chain. These are companies that manufacture their own products, and then they send it to distribution centers that they have to send it to their customers, and they want to make sure that they're never running out of inventory for especially their biggest customers like Walmart, Costco, but at the same time, they don't want to manufacture too many. So there it's everything from, manufacturing quality, using computer vision for inspection, using digital twins.
You described something that I found fascinating, that it was basically you're calculating routes inside your warehouses.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, actually.
It's amazing.
So the next is computer vision and digital twins for improving throughput in factories and distribution centers, robotics, and routing optimization. So routing optimization is a very, very complex mathematical model, and it requires, if you're able to efficiently use an optimization engine like NVIDIA's cuOpt, then you can actually much, much faster time. We worked with one retailer that basically went from 12 hours to 12 minutes of being able to determine what orders go in what truck for fastest delivery and lowest fuel cost. And so routing optimization is a really important use case in AI.
It's good to save time for everybody that is working, and is also good for the environment, right? Like you are reducing carbon footprint.
Right, because the faster you can deliver, the more customers you're going to get. Because people, when they want something, they want it as soon as possible, not 3 days
one of
from
them,
now.
yeah. And how about QSR?
So QSR is very different. QSR is a very labor-intensive business. Fewer and fewer people want to work in the fast food industry. And so anything that you can automate obviously makes a big difference. And one of the top use cases that we have is automated order taking using speech. And so, for example, you probably have seen we've made some announcements with Yum Brands, and they have developed now automated order taking with NVIDIA. And what they're doing is they're able to basically have AI with a beautiful soft voice take your order. And it also leverages generative AI to be able to do personalization. So if you're putting in your membership number or using your mobile, it can actually make recommendations based on your preferences, your history, or even, if you have allergies and so forth.
I was also watching one of your videos in the NVIDIA's website. They were talking about this case study with L'Oreal. I think it's fascinating. Can you walk us through your work with them?
Of course. Yeah. L'Oreal is one of my favorite customers. We do a lot of interesting stuff with them. A lot of people think of L'Oreal as a lipstick company, but L'Oreal is actually the number one skincare company in the world with brands like Lancome and La Roche-Posay and CeraVe and so forth. So they actually use computer vision that on their website can analyze your skin. And so based on analyzing your skin, and then they've used generative AI to build a beauty advisor. And so by analyzing your skin, that beauty advisor now has been trained. Again, it's a large language model that has been trained with all the scientific data about, what kind of products are good for what kind of a skin and why. And so it can basically become almost a replica of a skin advisor or even your dermatologist that actually recommends the right regimen, the right cream, the right cleanser, and so forth for the type of skin and the issues that you have. So analyzes your skin, gives that information to the large language model. Large language model looks at all the other scientific data it's been trained in and comes out with some special recommendations on that.
That's very
good. So that's one
yeah.
Use case. And another use case that's really great is that they are creating 3D digital twins of their products. And they have a lot of, beautiful bottles and so forth. And they create marketing and advertisement campaigns like I spoke about before.
Very good. And then there is Lowe, which is a very different business. Mm-hmm. What have you done with them?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of stuff with Lowe's as well. One has been this computer vision in the store for faster checkout and for loss prevention. But another area that we've collaborated with them quite a bit is they've actually created, they've used NVIDIA Omniverse design and simulation software. And they've actually created digital twins of all their stores. And they're able to actually, in the digital twin, evaluate different configurations of the store. Changing the configuration of a store is very disruptive. It's expensive, but it's disruptive because your stores are open every day.
Yeah, it's not a tiny store that they have. It's yeah.
And so they're able to simulate different layouts and see the effect and predict if it's going to drive up revenue. So, Lowe's CIO describes a company, we're not a company that people just come to buy a fan. It's usually people come to do a project. And so you're trying to really design the store so everything that you're doing, for example, for your kitchen remodeling, are going to be close to each other so that the customers don't have to go buy a few things and then they forgot something simple, but then the project cannot be done. They have to come back and buy that. So that's been really phenomenal. And then what they've done is they've also created 3D digital twins of all their products. And now what they're doing is they're taking the Excel sheets and the 2D programs for planogram and have made it 3D. They can actually look at the planogram inside the virtual store and be able to actually see what products have been sitting on the shelf for longer than 60, 90 days. And this way they can determine whether to remove it, put it on sale, and really make the planogram a lot more efficient. So they're able to evaluate, hundreds of planograms and pick the most optimum one.
Yeah, you have more data-driven decisions because now you can see better, right?
Right. And of course, they're big users of generative AI, and they've created this assistant called Milo that helps customers on their website and their mobile app, but also more importantly, making their store associates a lot more efficient by helping them answer, a lot of times questions about the product dimensions, warranty, and things like that.
And we talked a little bit about the evolution of generative AI, and it's amazing. I think like for a while, I had a lot of people asking me, but are people really using it? How are they doing it? I think like now we have real case studies to know how effective it can be. And I think we went through the generative AI phase, we went to the Agentic AI phase. We're still going through it. What do you think is going to be 2026 topic?
Yeah, I would say definitely physical AI. Physical AI is AI that understands physics. It understands speed, inertia, volume, all of that. And it really is a combination of digital twins, computer vision, robotics, and generative AI. So when you combine all of that, you create physical AI. Physical AI is AI that understands the physical world and knows how to interact with the physical world. And that's what's going to be pretty game-changing in supply chain. And you've heard our CEO talk about it in lots of our conferences. In fact, our GTC conference is coming up in October.
In DC, right?
Yeah,
in
in
DC,
Washington,
yeah.
D.C., and I highly, highly encourage everyone to take a look at it. There's going to be a big focus around American companies that are doing manufacturing and distribution here. So it'll be a big focus on physical AI, and that's definitely the next wave. And then the new thing is AI shopping agents from Perplexity and OpenAI. That is going to be something that retailers have to pay a lot of attention to. This is basically like if you play it right, you maintain your data on everything that your customer buys. But if you don't figure out how to play with it, there could be a wall between a lot of consumers that are going to go now to these shopping agents looking for something. And instead of all of them coming to your website, they might be taken, basically the Perplexity or the OpenAI shopping agents will go to Wayfair, Lowe's, Walmart, and maybe pick one from here and two from there and another one from
It's
there.
almost like you have to optimize your shopping interface, not just for the consumers anymore, but for the agents.
Exactly. And you got to know how to play. And we're all figuring that out. In fact, that's something that we're definitely looking at very, very closely. It's called agent-to-agent protocol, and really trying to be a trusted advisor to the retailers in terms of how to best play that game and be able to maintain their market share.
Do you think we are too far or too close to have humanoids interacting with us very soon, or not yet as consumers?
Yes, we do actually. I mean, you've seen in airports humanoids that are making cappuccinos for you. And I think we're seeing a lot in the healthcare industry where there's a shortage of nurses and there's certain things that humanoids can do in terms of coming and bringing you your medicine. Obviously, again, the reason they're called humanoids is because there's software inside of them. They're trained. They have computer vision, so they see, right? And so there's many use cases. I mean, humanoids, robotics is being used in some of the most difficult surgeries in the world, in some of the top, most progressive hospitals. And I think in the retail industry, right now, you're having robots that are washing the floors. You have robots that are scanning the shelves, looking for stock out. So there's a lot of robotic use cases that's eventually going to evolve into humanoids that can do certain tasks. And like, one of them is moving products that are getting delivered by trucks in your distribution center and lifting those and putting those in the shelves and so forth. So yeah, there's definitely more to come on that.
I can't wait to see more. And I know that, so when I saw you for the first time, it was ANF 2025. In January. In cold New York, I remember how you blew my mind. You're talking about everything. But now I think I'm all used to it. But yeah, you blew my mind, everything that you said. And there was a state of AI report that NVIDIA published. And I know they're going to publish another one for 2026. Kind of like 9 months to 2025, it feels like a lot has changed. What do you think we're going to see different in the State of AI report in 2026?
Well, I think it's everything that I just told you. I think that it's going to be a bigger component of physical AI, and you're going to see, much bigger adoption of agentic AI as people are figuring it out. And the last thing is, how do you deal with this agent to agent protocol, right? Those are really the three areas that I don't think people are going to say they're doing it. I think the people are going to say they're going to be looking at that and investing in those.
I can see why it's complex to put all these pieces together, right? And we'll see each other again, NRF.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to that. In fact, we have our team at NRF next week in Paris.
Oh yeah, that's true. So you're gonna see. I won't be there, but NVIDIA is gonna be NRF in Europe. It's gonna be NRF in New York. What should we expect from NVIDIA for NRF 2025?
Well, a lot of things I talked about, right? We're going to do a lot of stuff around supply chain and how AI can make supply chain more efficient. There's visual language models that are being used a lot in terms of, interacting and having video talk back to you when an incident has happened, or if somebody, is not wearing their hard hat or is not following the safety protocols and so forth. We are going to showcase a shopping assistant blueprint that we just announced actually a couple of weeks ago, be able to demo that, be able to explain to them that it's actually a shopping assistant that has multiple agents, and some of these agents have reasoning capabilities. They're able to think and figure out what is the best product to recommend to you, and they're kind of orchestrated together. So yeah, those are kind of some examples. And then we have invited many of our startup friends that have built their solutions on top of NVIDIA stack to come and showcase their solutions as well.
And so we're kind of going to meet the ecosystem there.
Yes, it's a fantastic place to meet the ecosystem because, again, not every retail company has a big team of data scientists. And our recommendation is the NVIDIA ecosystem has been vetted by NVIDIA. And I don't think there is a better company that can vet, who are some of the best AI companies and AI solutions out there. And we work with them to make their solution even better. And so the ecosystem that will be with us in the booths that we're having with Dell and Lenovo and other friends are going to be some that we want to showcase. But there's also, as you know, a startup area at NRF, which is a really great place for all retailers to go and look for some of the type of solutions that they need.
I can't wait. I think you have the coolest job in the world.
Well, thank you. I'm definitely a very lucky person. I feel very fortunate to be at NVIDIA. I'm glad that I didn't join just recently, that I've joined several years ago.
Saw it, yeah.
And I've been able to see the evolution of AI and being able to be with a company that knows what's happening around the corner and really leading that. And so I feel very happy, very fortunate, and love the opportunity to work with some of the best retailers in the world.
But before doing that, I was seeing that you came to the US as an international student to study engineering. Times have changed. What would be your advice to the younger ones that want to pursue a technology career like yours?
Yeah, 17. And I think my biggest worry was, how am I going to get from the airport to downtown LA? Because I was going to University of Southern California. And now I look back and I'm like, really? That was my biggest worry. I would say, I studied aerospace engineering, and I was working in the commercial aircraft business, designing rudder for one of the aircraft. And here I am, many, many years later. I think the key thing is that you always have to be learning. And, I've always kind of had this interest in what's new in technology. What is it that I, want to learn about? And I think in many ways, I've been reading more stuff around technology versus reading magazines for fun and things like that. And so I think constantly learning and constantly reinventing yourself is important. Obviously, if you're able to get a technical degree. Those are where the top jobs are this day. But I understand that it's not always for everyone. If you're not going to go get a technical degree, at least pay the $20 a month and subscribe to one of these great generative AI solutions, Perplexity, OpenAI, Anthropic, and many of the solutions that are out there, and use that to become more efficient.
Do you have any book recommendations to give us? I think lots of people ask me and ask many people, what should they be reading now that life is changing, but it's kind of like everything's so new?
I'm not a book reader.
Okay.
I'll admit that, because by the time you read the book, it's obsolete. I think the books that I've enjoyed the most, I love reading Malcolm Gladwell's books, especially The Outliers has always made an impact on me. It says the people that are the best at what they do is because they practice 8 hours a day, the best athletes, the best musicians. So I believe that that will always be the case no matter what technology. So you want to be the best in AI, you got to study, you got to try it, and all of that. Mindset is another good book, and that is, again, about, do you have a learning mindset? If you think you know everything, you have a closed mindset. If you have an open mindset, it says, I'm doing well, but let me learn from what I didn't do well. How can I do this better? How can I be the best of the best in that? So those are the two books that have made an impact on me. But in reality, as lately, I don't have time to read a book, and things are changing so fast. By the time a book is out, I feel like it's obsolete. So for me, it's much more reading a lot of technology publications. And frankly, I use, again, generative AI
and play with it.
What are the topics, what are these companies doing in agent to agent? How is Amazon and other retailers responding? And it just gives me a whole bunch of stuff to read. And then I can go in and click in and read it in more detail.
Very good. Azita, thank you so much for participating. I've learned so much from you already, and see you next in NRF.
Absolutely, in Freezing, New York. And thank you for having me. And especially thank you for having the green NVIDIA background. And looking forward to seeing looking forward to seeing you and everybody else at NRF in January in New York.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful.